Anyway, reacting. Rasputin. The guy. The man, the myth, the legend. He's made this video a long time ago. When did it post, huh? November 19th, 2022. So it's been out for a while, but this game is still incredibly, important and applicable to today in early August 2024. So let's dig in, see what he has to say. Playing games in the wrong way.
One of the few guarantees of game design is that players will approach any given title in ways that the developers never could have anticipated. It's unavoidable and takes many different forms. The most common examples of this are the unintentional ways people play games wrong. For instance, players misunderstanding mechanics or directions, causing them to engage with things in weird or suboptimal ways. Like, I've heard of multiple people who have played through the entirety of Dark Souls without realizing they could lock onto enemies. Also,
okay, but that's a skill issue, right? That's a skill issue. I guess he's probably going to say, like, developers, it's up to them to kind of, like, explain the mechanics and stuff, but not knowing you can lock on, like, just when you play a new game, go on. There's like 12 buttons. Just press them all once. See what they do. Press them all during combat. Press them all during outside of combat, while running, while driving. Just press the fucking buttons and you'll figure it out. Anyway, that's obnoxious.
So when I put out a video that mentioned Mario is able to sprint in the original Super Mario Bros., I received hundreds of comments of people saying
press the buttons, dude. Figure it out.
These sorts of misunderstandings happen all the time, and while most people will figure things out eventually, they do have a major impact on how players experience games. This form of unintentionally playing titles in the wrong way has always been fascinating.
What is the wrong way?
It's kind of the basis
just going to the side
gaming for a non-gamer series. But to be honest, what interests me even more are the intentional ways people play games "quote-unquote" wrong.
Yeah,
the ways
speedrunning
that don't come from a lack of understanding of the title's mechanics, but instead from a keen awareness of them that players utilize to create their own experiences with.
Not to nitpick examples, because I don't always have perfect examples in my videos either. It's hard. You're not always going to have what you want, but this guy's just using a magic spell on a boss. And it's chunking. It's kind of. What is he abusing?
One of the most obvious examples of this can be seen with speedrunning, where players pull apart every aspect of a game to find the fastest way to beat it. Through
Super Mario 64 speedrunning and Hitman, good old Atrioc.
Break the game.
Yeah,
and even though there are many developers who do design their titles with speedrunning in mind, runners have an uncanny ability of finding paths that developers never could have planned for. The argument could also be made that this can be seen with certain competitive scenes, Super Smash Bros. Melee being one of the most notable. While things like wave dashing and L canceling were known mechanics to the dev team, Sakurai and company never could have predicted the way these elements would be combined, mastered, and exploited by the player. Beyond those more structured examples, there are also just a ton of people who create objectives and restrictions for themselves when playing a game in order to give it a new challenge.
Dang, I didn't know you could parkour in Witcher. My God.
Approach to a playthrough, like beating a Mario game without collecting any coins. It may be one powered by external factors, like killing all the bosses in Elden Ring while using a drawing tablet. Or it might be small.
Yeah, that chick has beaten Elden Ring in 500 different ways, and meanwhile I'm stuck on a basic dragon.
What matters is that the player is setting an alternate win state that pushes against the intended experience. Regardless of the form it takes, seeing games be played through unconventional means appeals to a fair amount of people. It forges communities and generates millions upon millions of views on YouTube and Twitch. And as an avid fan of playing games and watching them,
and let me tell you, getting views on YouTube and Twitch is the only thing that matters. Actually enjoying the game.
In the wrong way. I've recently found myself.
I gotta pause. I got like an eyelash in my eye.
So in order to get a better understanding of the topic, I reached out to the world's foremost expert on playing games in the wrong way.
I'm Doug. I'm a YouTuber and streamer, and I make a lot of videos about playing games in really, really stupid ways, and often having my viewers help me in playing the games in very, very stupid ways.
The road.
Doug's content primarily centers around.
It primarily centers around him just having insane coding experience, or someone else, because they always have crazy interactions with chat or just with himself, like pressing weird buttons, and somehow it works in game. GTA 5, like Skyrim, all this shit.
Him presenting a weird idea or challenge to his audience and then seeing how it plays out.
Boom, right here. Drive across GTA 5 with voice commands, but any damage kills you. Make it to the golf course alive to win. Yeah, that's absurd. How do you even do that?
There's always a plan he comes in with that he intentionally leaves unfinished in order to give his chat a way to participate.
Unfortunate.
However, his earliest exposure to playing
games... Okay, let's go back to that for a second. Have you guys seen the clips on like any short form or even just YouTube or anything? Now, especially now, like maybe some of it's placebo, but over time it feels like the drivers in GTA online and in single player, the AI tries to hit you more. Like, look at this.
A way to participate.
Oh, maybe that's a maybe that's another player. No, because he was Michael. right? He's
and
Michael?
He comes in with that
Is it
he
single player?
intentionally leaves
That's Michael. Okay.
Finish in order to give his
Yeah, that's just a pedestrian, just running your ass over.
Halo 2, when that came out, that was a huge deal, and everybody loved the single player, and especially the PvP multiplayer, but me and my friend spent an entire day. There's a mission where you drive a tank down a bridge to save some city on Earth, and we just shot each other with tanks for like 3 or 4 straight hours and made no progress in the mission.
4 hours of tank battles within a
being like, man,
co-op.
Halo's awesome, but like that is not how you're supposed to play Halo at all.
I think there's also an aspect of this, what he's describing, that's just inherently there, present, when you are a literal child playing a video game that is not made for children. So there's part of your brain that just, it doesn't click at first or even ever for a lot of games, and you just end up fucking around because that's all you know how to do. Or you just see something as funny, you go, screw the objective. Like, I don't even know if I'd have the ability to naturally have a situation like this occur in a game anymore, because I just don't think the way that a literal child would think in order to put themselves in that situation. You know what I mean? Like, I would see the tanks and I might shoot my friend once, be like, oh, hey, team kill, and then we move on. It wouldn't turn into 30 minutes. So I don't know, it's something about, you know, just like childhood innocence. You know what I mean? It's awesome. Freaking awesome.
For a lot of people, myself included, the Halo series was a breeding ground for experimenting with seemingly unintended forms of play. Personally, I've spent hundreds of hours in Halo 2 just messing around with it.
And not to get triggered, but you can't even do this in a lot of modern games. The hitbox is like boink, and it just bounces your ass off. You can't like stand on vehicles, you can't stand on other players. And then you look back at like the most fun, memorable gaming experiences of your childhood, if you're of my general age group, and it's goofy shit like this. You just can't even do that. The game developers like, oh, it's unrealistic, and they force you off. Why? It's a game. It's not realistic to drive this shit anyway. It's like I don't even know what the year is in Halo, to be honest, but this shit doesn't exist in real life. If you weren't aware of that, so who cares?
Stuff.
Let us have fun.
Searching for glitches on various maps or creating complex out-of-game
rule
sets for multiplayer modes in order to play something a bit more engaging than Slayer. Frankly, there's something about the series that kind of lends itself to be played in these ways. It was the heart of early machinima, and in general grew a massive community
Red vs.
that
Blue.
developed their own modes that sometimes ended up becoming official ones. And Bungie recognized the community's interest in these things, which led to them adding Forge mode
Forge
in
is
Halo
sick.
3, their way of giving power to the player base.
It was sick, actually. Big asterisk. Big asterisk. Halo 3 and Halo Reach Forge. And even Reach, it like tried to become like a game dev engine a little bit. There were more rules. In 3, you could just, you would have to, with the physics engine, like do goofy stuff to make things work. Like different grav lift placements under certain items would react different ways, and it was janky as hell, but it was fun in that way. Now, Halo, when's the next game that had Reach, or that had Forge after Reach? Halo 4 or 5? I feel like they skipped a few, and then Infinite has Reach, but it's like, it'd be like Unreal Engine dev kit within Fortnite. You know, it's obviously not that much, but it's like very technical and like a legitimate program. Almost, it's just like, yeah, is that fun, dude? Kids gonna be going and creating goofy maps in that? No.
It's acknowledging the value that can come from players creating their own fun. While the campaigns and multiplayer modes of each game are mostly well-crafted experiences worth playing, I think what made the series remarkable from the start were the slew of interesting mechanics and intricate play spaces that gave players room to create their own modes of play.
Yeah, I think certain games just have more of a sandbox or set of tools that can be applied in a lot of different ways, where they've developed it so that all the tools in the game
GTA,
can interact in some
early
sort of
Halo,
interesting or unexpected ways.
Any
so
Bethesda
like Breath
title.
of the Wild and GTA 5 and Halo, I think all of those share kind of similar attributes of, hey, here's a whole bunch of pieces in the game. Here's the way you are supposed to play them, in quotes, but there are so many interesting combinations that can happen if you just sort of slam them together.
When examining the games that lend themselves well to be played in the wrong ways, the most notable commonality between the vast majority of them are that they all have interesting physics engines.
Any kid, when you leave them alone without their parents' supervision.
Physics engines, ones that provide flexibility in various ways, sometimes leading to cool movement options and other times just fun, chaotic nonsense. Looking again at Melee, there's a reason it has stuck around while every other version of Smash has fallen off as soon as a
I don't know, man. I think Ultimate kind of redeemed itself.
New iteration of the game has come out. Its movement options are unparalleled, creating a wildly high ceiling for what can be accomplished.
Just Fox fucking wave dashing 99% of the map.
Wow, real original. Speedrunning games. They're all about exploiting movement, level design, and even how a title is programmed to get through it at a ridiculous pace.
What was that?
Technically, people can speedrun.
Dude just disappeared.
And how a title is programmed to get.
So he jumps off Yoshi. Yoshi gulps the coin. He runs into like the gulp animation.
Through it at a ridiculous pace.
Just shoots forward? What the hell is that?
Game, the ones with
That's
the most
sick.
active communities are generally the ones that have the most interesting forms of movement. And of course, when just considering those self-imposed objectives
Skyrim.
that players to shift how a game is played, the adaptability that certain
that didn't
systems
achieve
offer
anything
is
though.
What
are you doing?
allows for so much variety in what players can do. For instance, a title like The Last of Us
What
really
players
can't
can
be
do.
played in that many different ways.
No, it
Sure,
cannot. Okay. Mini rant, inbound. No, real condensed. But I like Last of Us 1, but I'm not going to sit here and jerk that series off, man. I don't know. Something about the fact that not every, but the vast majority of the PlayStation, starting off PlayStation exclusives, obviously they come to PC eventually, but I'm talking Last of Us, the new Spider-Mans, and God of War. They're all just like cinematic, straightforward. Obviously, Spider-Man is open world, but even then, there's just like so many situations where it's a quick time event and you just like have to trudge forward straight the way they want you to. This game, you can't do anything. There's like, you can loot like 5 ammo in an entire massive area, but there's an entrance into that area, there's a couple enemies, and then there's an exit. And that's what you do. And you rinse and repeat that until you finally win. And it is still a cinematic masterpiece. It's cool if you let it be, but I'm just so used to games having freedom, and this, like, it's polar opposite. So, I don't know. To each their own, I guess.
Could set a challenge for themselves, like trying to beat the game without using a gun, but there aren't all that many options.
There's
for
definitely
playing
levels you
than
can't
it was
do that.
intended to be played. At least not many that are all that fun.
Yeah. Wait a minute. You mean I need to go pick up another ladder? Oh, no.
The Last of Us has an incredible world to walk through and explore, but it's not one that can be interacted with in all that many interesting ways.
Fair enough.
Scripted. It's a grounded,
very
linear
scripted.
game that's great,
Very
in its
grounded,
own
very
right,
linear.
but is too
Well
rigid
said.
for players to be able to turn into something else. And there's nothing wrong with that. Game's quality is not dictated by the amount of goofy ways people can find to play it, but it does.
No, but asterisk. In general, that's more fun. Hands up. Did I say something crazy? I feel like that's very fair and level-headed. In general, that's fun. You know, I did Fallout main series tier list. I did a lot of complaining about the older games. You know, they're obviously better narratives, better role-playing games, but they're more janky. And I give a lot of weight to Fallout 4 being much more modern experience. It's also more nostalgic for me, and I think I'm biased in that. But there's still goofy jankiness in Fallout 4. It's still fun. And in general, even if you are playing New Vegas or 3, like, that goofy shit makes that experience what it is. If there wasn't that janky shit, I don't know. I don't know how much a lot of people would enjoy those earlier games, because then you're just left with an okay story and a good role-playing, kind of. It's good within the Fallout world, but is it actually good compared to other games? That's way more up for debate, right?
Now, compare this to titles that aren't so rigid in their construction. The fact that a substantial amount of people are still playing Skyrim.
By the way, same glitchiness applies to Skyrim, right? The game is not well made, ultimately. But, I mean, at least now it's, you know, a lot of things have been patched. There's mods easily accessible even on console, so you can keep the goofy stuff, you can fix the bad glitches that are game breaking, and you're good to go.
In Minecraft 11 years after they were released is indicative of how valuable a title having a certain amount of flexibility.
I mean, it's literally just a sandbox,
there are
though.
so many ways that those worlds can be interacted with, which gives players the agency to mess around in countless fun ways. With that said, there is a valid argument that
Big
games can have too much flexibility.
I made a twee, but bigger.
Open-ended creativity, and you could do what
the game can have to mess around in countless fun ways. With that,
This is a kid. They're like, I saw the twee and I made a bigger one.
just having completely open-ended creativity and you could do whatever you want, I don't think feels particularly satisfying because there's no resistance. And so I think that tension between the game attempting to hold on to the fabric of reality while you poke it in the wrong ways, like, that's what's super rewarding in a lot of ways. And so there actually does kind of need to be some sort of tension back and forth, at least for me to be satisfied by it.
I mean, he did word that really well. Maybe that is subconsciously in the back of your head part of what makes it so goofy and funny when games like Skyrim and GTA glitch out, do goofy things. It's because you know they're not supposed to happen, theoretically, but they still do, and it's unexpected and funny. But then when you just do full-out sandbox game like Minecraft, it's like, okay, yeah, I knew I would be able to do anything because the game is built to let me do anything. I can see that perspective, and I agree for the most part.
Titles like Minecraft or Gary's Mod, they offer so much freedom that it almost makes it harder to have sufficient stakes. And that's not
Gmod's tough. Gmod can be some of the funniest shit ever, but you have to go out of your way to put the set pieces in place or find someone else who already has a pre-made map with the set pieces in place to then have fun, because it literally gives you a sandbox with nothing and like that blank city template, and you can just spawn stuff. It's too open-ended.
The case for more structured titles. Pushing against the defined limitations of a game and its
Horsey,
world creates a type of creativity that can be difficult
nice.
to cultivate when just given free reign over a system. When a game has limitations, you have to learn how to finesse things in just the right way to accomplish your goals. And discovering those things can be really satisfying. Titles with tons of freedom are expressly designed to let players play them however they want, where ones with more limitations aren't. They just have enough interesting mechanics for people to try it anyway. Also, while there are instances when I go into a game with a certain personal objective in mind, more often than not...
Wait, what? He didn't do this, right? God of War 2018. But every time Kratos says, boy, come here, boy, I take a shot. You're dead. You're dead. You can't even play an hour. You're going to die of alcohol poisoning. Anyway.
Well, there are instances when I go into a game with a certain personal objective.
I bought this game, haven't played it yet. There's a PlayStation 5 on behind the TV. You can kind of see the controller right there. Yeah, you can see the controller. Okay. I've got all 3 Spideys. I've got Last of Us 1, God of War 1. And like Helldivers or something so Haley can play, because I've got it Helldivers on PC. That's it. And I'm like 80% through Spider-Man 1 and like 40 or 50% through Last of Us. Yeah. We're killing it, dude. I want to play this, but I just like don't have time. I don't know. I'll make time. I'll stop complaining. God. First world problems.
More often than not, the times when I engage with a title in the wrong way are born out of some
what map is this?
discovery. Is it
I don't even know if that's Halo 2 or 3. Probably 2.
Can I get from this side to the other without touching the ground? When given too much freedom, these sorts of challenges generally need more planning and preparation. It is a pretty natural instinct to want to replay games you love. But if you're just going back to play the same experience over and over, it will eventually get stale. So for titles that are unyielding in regards to how they can be approached...
Dude, even if Last of Us, or what is this, like... Rat's Requiem for a Rat's Tail, Plague's Tale, Requiem, whatever it is. Can you even go back and do a different build, or like align your perk points differently? Can you? Like kind of, but it's relatively linear. I just wouldn't replay this. I don't know. Like again, Last of Us is good. Undoubtedly, it's a good story, but I'm going to eventually beat it, spread across the course of like 2 years. The show's better for me, and that's it.
Again, a game's longevity or replayability is not the most important thing for every player. To be honest, for me personally, it's an aspect that has never held all that much weight. With that said, I'm extremely envious of those who get to keep finding new and fun ways to play their favorite games long after they've beaten them.
So he's saying replayability, in his mind, is valuable when you're able to experience the game in a new way, not necessarily just replay it because you liked it. I agree with that. Although it's tough because it's like I've probably beaten Skyrim legitimately only 3, maybe 5 times, but I've had like 15 characters. And it's crazy how maybe 13 of those 15 are the same. I start with destruction magic and then I get out a one-handed weapon and then I do like dual one-hand destruction magic, one hand with a one-handed weapon. Maybe some archery at the beginning of a fight too to get some sneak kills. That's it. I default to that 13 out of 15 times, which is weird because it's not that interesting. I should try a heavy build, or I should try a sneak assassin build with daggers. I should try other things, but I just don't, which kind of goes against his entire point. But I guess it's all personal preference. Because even Doug is like, certain games are too open and then it's not fun to fuck with it anymore either. So, you know.
Another key aspect that is often associated with playing games in the wrong way is doing so with other people, whether it be 100%. Friends, communities, or just strangers on the internet with similar interests.
Or good jump.
Being able to share weird playthroughs with others can add a lot of value.
The most
I should probably just play that game.
Part of pursuing dumb things is doing it with others. That's what I really love. That's what draws me to content creation in the first place, rather than just playing games by myself. So that's not an accidental thing that happens on my channel. That's deliberate because that's what makes it.
Climbing Death Mountain with only voice commands. I still don't understand how he gets voice commands to translate into a game. I guess it makes perfect sense. technically how it works. It's not a new technology, but my goodness.
When I think about my personal experiences with playing games in unintended ways, every single memory that comes to mind is tied to my friends. Sharing those weird, unique moments together that came from a potent mixture of persistence, stupidity, and chance have stuck with me for decades. It's far easier to remember the times when things went off the rails than when we just played games as they were meant to be played.
Bad joke.
I don't think that one way.
I don't even know what this game is, because it's not Gang Beast, is it? It's like very similar.
Than when we just played games as they were meant to be played. And I don't think that one way.
That is a very good point, though, and I think I'm starting to, like, I haven't done that many reacts and I haven't covered that many topics, but a persistent point being brought up, especially with other video essays on the gaming industry and, like, you know, does gaming really suck now, or are you just playing the same games over and over? But another thing is, does gaming suck, or are you just like lonely beating your head against a wall in a competitive game without friends? Or even co-op games where they're fun to play co-op, but you're just going solo every time. It's like, play with your fucking friends. Like, remember gaming as a kid? You know why it was fun? You probably played with your best friends almost every day after school or all summer long. A new fun co-op game came out. I can't even think of one off the top of my head. Whatever it is, you played with friends. Like, that's something that's huge for me, like, especially as an adult. Everyone's growing apart. Most people don't choose to spend their time gaming as much as I would.
Oh, what a loser!
It's just tough. You don't play with your friends as much. And then it's like, why is gaming not as fun? It's like, dude, because you're fucking playing solo. It's like, because Rocket League... It's like a solo queuing Rocket League sucks, dude.
Is inherently better than the other. They both serve a purpose, but there is something special about the experiences we shared that went against the intended design of a game. One of my now favorite examples of this happened just after
I gotta play this game, man. It looks so chill.
I adored it and wanted to watch
co-op,
everyone I knew play it,
that
so I
co-op?
could live vicariously through them.
Or is that
Seeing
just
my friends react to everything from the breathtaking vistas to the enthralling music to the reveal after the credits of all the players who joined them on their journey brought me a surprising amount of joy. However, there is one that stands out to me still. It was a late night and a group of us were all watching my friend Adam play it. It was a typical playthrough of the game. That is, up until right before the end. He began his final ascent up the mountain, soaring along scarves and waterfalls, ready to finally reach the destination he had spent the past few hours working towards. And right when he was
seen this video like a
year
ago.
He went off course for a moment.
Yeah.
And accidentally
the friend just didn't go up
itself. No matter what he did, he was unable to get out, and every attempt to get back to the path just seemed to get him even more stuck than before. After it was clear to me that he wouldn't be able to continue, I told him to reload the game so that he could keep going and see the end. But he refused, simply saying no. At the time, I did find it funny, but I also really wanted him to see the ending of the game. His choice to stop playing without actually beating it baffled me, because that's just what you're supposed to do. Are you telling
me he didn't go back and beat it like the next day?
The end. But now, I kind of get it. While every player's time with Journey is unique in its own way,
your friend definitely finished it eventually though, right?
To have ever finished it in the way he did. The experience belonged to him.
That's his ending.
He chose not
that's
to
his
see
ending.
As a mistake, but
done.
instead
That's it.
As a moment.
That's another good point though. He made like 10 seconds earlier, with like you do. What did he say, dude? How did he say it? I need to hear it again.
Also, to be a one-of-a-kind experience.
One-of-a-kind experience. Okay, there we go. We're jogging our memory here because it's been 10 seconds and I have the memory of a goldfish. One-of-a-kind experience. So that's why, yeah, your friend may have also sent a giant halfway across Skyrim with Fusroda to level 3 or whatever, but did he do it in the spot that you did? Did he lure the giant to a specific area where you kind of had a rock that acted as a ramp and so it launched higher? It's the same thing. You're launching a giant in a funny way with Fusroda and Skyrim, but did you do it the same as your friend? So even if the experience is solo, you can still talk about it and you can still like have that social experience of talking about the funny ways that you did a certain thing. And even if your friend did it as well, did they do it the same way you did? Was it unique to your experience? I think that's definitely a good point worth noting.
Sharing these sorts of experiences,
shared experiences,
feel
man,
more important, regardless of how silly or inconsequential they are. Having other people be invested in whatever stupid thing you end up doing is a huge part of what gives something life. And being able to talk about it years and years later with the people who were there for it is what cements it into a sort of legend.
Yeah, I mean, I've already kind of said this point, but that's huge. This video could almost not even be playing games in the wrong way, but playing games in a way that allows it to be a shared experience. That's a mouthful and wouldn't be a good YouTube title, but yeah, I mean, so much of gaming is the social aspect, which is a massive part that's kind of getting lost in a way in modern gaming. And not to rant yet again about modern games, but even remember like Modern Warfare 2, original Modern Warfare 2 or Halo 3 or whatever, after a game ended, you all went back to the same lobby unless you specifically choose to quit and back out to menu, and you vote on a new map, and then you get back in there with the same total group of 8, 10, 12 players. And if you're partied up, you'll stay on the same team. If not, it'll rebalance the teams again. But it wasn't like, oh, we got to boot you out and redo a perfect algorithm for perfect skill-based matchmaking. It's not even skill-based. It's like, God, what do they call it? It's like retention. It's not retention editing, but it's like retention-based matchmaking, where they just want to get you online for as long as possible, because then you'll be exposed to new skins for as long as possible, and then you can spend more money in the microtransactions. You could just be done with a Halo 3 match and then come back, talk shit in the lobby, and yeah, that was probably not the best thing, but I don't know. That's a price I'm willing to pay for sure at this point. Not social anymore.
All in all, games are different from every other medium because they hand control over to the people experiencing them. When a title releases, in a way, the ownership of
I'd say yes, but I would also say, going back to the social aspect, even like seeing a movie in the theaters with your friends, and then that one friend who is very witty says something funny, perfectly timed up with the movie, and boom, that's a shared experience you have that other people who've seen the same movie, even in the same theater, maybe they didn't hear you guys, they don't have that. It's your personal shared experience, and it's iconic at that point and substantial and part of your brain chemistry and all that shit. I'd say the big takeaway from this is just the social aspect and doing things in a way that's unique but also shared, and just like having that be something that is unique to you and your group of friends.
I imagine the vast majority of game developers have come to accept and even appreciate the ways players engage with their games that they never could have predicted. I also
what's that, Firewatch? He's putting a little dummy in the porta potty.
Ultimately, I think in the same way that someone like Doug loves sharing games with his audience, in the same way that I love sharing games with my friends, developers love sharing games with us, as they get to see what all of their hard work will turn into, even when we end up playing them in the wrong ways. But enough talk about doing stuff wrong. Instead, let me tell you about this video's sponsor, Nebula.
Okay,
who does stuff
Support
right.
Nebula if you want. I don't know what they do, but good video, man. Rasputin's got he's got a lot of good stuff. A lot of good points here. So definitely go check him out. Link will be in the description. Otherwise, guys, that's about it. Some good stuff to think about. Did you like the video? Then press the fucking like button. It helps me out. Algorithm and stuff. I don't know. You like me? You like this cauliflower here, dude? Is that speaking to you? Is that making you interested in what I have to say? Then subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on more. USA going for gold. We're gonna win, right? What's the medal count? What's the medal count? Olympic 2024 medal count. Look at that. We are only second place in number of golds. We are absolutely stomping the rest of the world in number of total medals. God, in number of silvers, it's not even close. And bronze. We'll be one across the board by the end. Hoping the wrestlers can get it done. Anyway, that's about it for me. Have a great rest of your day. See you in the next one.